Hello everyone, this is Mrs. Ruscio, and I am going to be talking about the 1.2 lesson on solving equations day 1. A couple things that I want to tell you about. First of all, you've been solving equations for probably years now, so nothing that we're going to talk about is new. There might be some different methods depending on who your teacher was or ways that you actually like to solve equations, but nothing is new. The vocabulary should all be the same, like coefficient, variable, constant. If you're not sure about what they are, then go ahead and just read about those there. And then also, we should always know the difference between expressions, equations, and inequalities. Remember, expressions don't have an equal sign, equations do. And then inequalities have greater than, less than, greater than or equal to, less than or equal to symbols. So today we are going to be solving equations. So we're really just going to be talking about this section here and solving for the missing variable. All right, so if we scroll down here, solving equations, there's two different methods. Method 1 is basically just getting, everything to, or the x alone, and using inverse operations, like here. First thing that we do, we distributed. So we distributed the 2 and the -1. And then the next step, what we did was just combine any like terms on one side. So the 2 and the 8 became the 10. And then what we needed to do was get x alone. So we added 1 x. We could also put a 1 out in front here and just say that we're adding 1 x to both sides to cancel that out. The same thing we do with the 14, adding to both sides. Lastly, divide both sides by 3 to get a final answer of x is equal to 8. Method 2, we're going to look at the same exact equation, but this is what I would consider to be more of like a sorting method as opposed to like the inverse operations would be method 1. So method 2, notice how the second step is very, very similar because you're just distributing the 2 and again the -1. And then, though, what we're going to do is we want to move all of the x terms to the left side and the not x terms to the right side. And we do that by changing the sign if we change the side. So this -14 moved to this side and became a +14. This 2 was on the correct side, so was the +8, but this minus x had to move over to go to the x side, so we made it the +x. And then from there, all we're doing is just grouping together the like terms. So 2x plus x, or 1x, is really 3x, and dun, 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 you get the same answer. So whatever method you're looking at, and you might say, whoa, that one was crazy, I don't remember seeing it, we don't have to go with that method. You're going to pick the method that works best for you. But here's my advice. If you pick one method and you keep getting the answers wrong, you might want to try the other method. Okay, so I'm going to try to do a little mixture of both with the examples that we have here. So it says find the exact value of each missing variable. Okay, cool. I happen to be one of the line drawers down the equal sign. You don't have to do it, and I know some teachers hate it and some teachers love it. I'm just going to do it right now because I like it. Okay, so I got to get x alone. Let's move this +5. I'm going to use the inverse operations method and subtract 5 from both sides. So when I do that, I end up with 3x equaling -18. If I owe $13 and I owe $5, I'm going to owe $18. Next, with my inverse step, I'm going to divide both sides by 3 because I'm trying to get x alone, and the only way I'll be able to cancel out multiplying is dividing. So x equals -6. There's our answer. Okay, moving on to B. B looks a little weird, so sometimes when I see things looking a little weird, I tend to like to use the sorting method. So instead of x's and not x's, this is going to be b's and no b's, to be or not to be. And the 0, well, we don't know what's going on with that. We could move it, but it really doesn't matter. The 7b is on the incorrect side, so we're going to move that over and make it -7b. And the -31 is actually on the correct side. So -7b is equal to -31. Divide both sides by -7. And we end up with, oh, I'm pretty sure that's kind of gross. We'll just jump to our calculator and make sure that, yeah, 31 divided by 7 is 31/7. So this is a step that I think a lot of people want to convert it to a decimal, and I say, leave it. 31/7 is our winner. And actually, some of you are like, Mrs. Ruscio, you forgot the negatives. Well, I was ahead of myself. Negative 31 divided by negative 7 gave us the positive 31/7. So that's why it's positive and not negative. All right, check it out. Part C, fractional. This is usually where people have meltdowns and cry because it's a fraction. Fractions are just dividing. And what's the opposite of dividing? Yes, multiplying. So we are just going to use multiplying to help us get rid of that nasty little dividing by 3. Our goal is to get this x alone. So let's just do it. So how do we get rid of dividing by 3? We multiply both sides by that 3. And 3 divided by 3, those are inverse operations. Oops, I got a little wiggly. My hand slipped, but we're still left with that lovely 4x. And the 3's canceled. It's the form of 1. And then 12 times 3 is 36. And now we have this beautiful one-step equation. Let's divide both sides by 4, and we get x is equal to 9. Easy peasy. All right, now let's check out the distributive property. We need to get m alone. We need to find the exact value of m. So in order to do that, our first step is always get rid of those parentheses, so distribute. So negative 1/2 times 8. You know, a lot of people freak out when you see this, but don't stress about it. So hit Control Division. That's going to give you your fraction, and you can make that negative 1/2 times 8, which is negative 4, because half of 8 is 4, and you're multiplying a negative times a positive. For those of you who wanted to do mental math, which I would encourage, but you have your calculator, use them. So negative 4m, and then negative 1/2 times negative 10 is a positive 5, equaling 1. Okay, now let's do some more inverse operations. I am going to subtract 5 from both sides. And when I do that, I get negative 4m is equal to negative 4. Lastly, what are we going to do to both sides to get rid of this negative 4 being multiplied by n? Yep, divide by negative 4. And negative 4 divided by negative 4 is 1. Yay. Okay, so before I wrap up this video, I want to talk to you about this amazing tool that we have on our calculators that is only for checking purposes, because if you try to just do this on the test and you don't show any work, you get 0 credit. So this is completely useless unless you just want to show somebody that you know how to use a calculator, which is not what we're doing here. We want to show people we know the math. And we also want to show people that we can check our work and be really conscientious, because sometimes the equations are not as easy as these ones, and we want to make sure that we don't mess anything up. So when you're on your calculate screen, we're going to go to menu, and we're doing some algebra, and we want to numerically solve something. We can do this with any one of the equations. Let's pick the fractional one. All right, so I'm going to hit Control Divide, and I'm going to type in 4x divided by 3 equals, yeah, we're going to type in the equal sign, 12. And if I hit enter, my calculator yells at me, because there's a little tool that you have, or a little trick that you have to remember to always do is, oops, inside the parentheses, we're going to type in comma x, which that comma x just means solve for x. And dun 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 dun, dun, we got x equals 9. Now we know that we're right. So if we had done something incorrectly, we'd be able to see it and our calculator can check. You can do this for any example. If you're taking a quiz, totally recommend it, but make sure that your work matches your answer and that you also have work.